everything you need to know about a Volkswagen Golf R. So Volkswagen has been making hot hatchbacks for longer than I can remember. In fact, the Volkswagen Golf debuted back in 1974. We are now on the 8th generation of Volkswagens, which should go to tell you that this is a really big deal. This has been a vastly successful vehicle that just keeps getting better and better and better every generation. In fact, Volkswagen's been doing compact cars so good that before the Golf, we actually had the Volkswagen Beetle, which was one of the most famous compact vehicles ever made. The Volkswagen Beetle was a rear-wheel drive, rear-engine vehicle, and it was replaced by the Golf, which was a front-wheel drive, front-engine vehicle. In the best years of the Volkswagen Golf, the Volkswagen sold over 1 million units worldwide, and now in its 8th generation, even though only 500,000 vehicles are being sold due to competition, people not wanting cars, people want electrification, this is still one of the most popular compact vehicles you can get. The war for the hottest high-performance hatch has been an incredible battle with vehicles like the Ford Focus RS, the Subaru Impreza WRX, and the Civic Type R, all taking swings at each other. But this Volkswagen Golf R high-performance hatch takes a little bit of a different route than its competitors, and I can't wait to tell you a little more about it. I'm Jeff Batchelor, and I love cars. I love the look, I love the design, and I love the emotion that you feel. I love the history, brand stories, marketing strategy, and automotive trends. I love engineering, types of propulsion, engine specs, drivetrain, and performance, and I love the interiors, layouts, smell, and the gizmos and gadgets and bells and whistles. But I don't only love cars, I also sell them. If you love this content and want to chat about a purchase, text me at 416-523-6585. Now back to the video. So as I mentioned, Volkswagen has been making the Golf since 1974, and for the longest time, the halo, the best and the most desired version of the Volkswagen was the GTI. And they're still producing GTIs, but somewhere along the line, they came out with the R32, which was always an ultra rare, ultra premium, ultra high performance version of the Golf that enthusiasts would dream about. Nowadays, Volkswagen still sells a GTI as well as an R model, and the R model outsells the GTI, especially here in Canada, almost 2-to-1. Now, why would the highest performance model outperform everything else? Well, it's mainly because of its all-wheel drive capability. Not only are you getting an ultra-potent, ultra-premium, high-performance hatchback, but you get it in an all-wheel drive version, which has been incredibly popular here in Canada. Now, as far as classification goes, this is a compact car. So think Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, Subaru WRX, even things like a Mazda 3. And when we talk about competition, we need to talk about the highest performance versions of those vehicles. So think of the Corolla GR, which I will be doing a video on later on this summer. And think of the Impreza WRX STI or the Honda Civic Type R. I mean, this is a vehicle that is geared towards high performance. Now, although I feel like the Subaru Impreza and the Honda Civic are a little bit more tuner oriented and maybe tailored towards the younger crowd that want to stick on big spoilers and body kits and lower them and put fancy lights underneath, I think the Volkswagen Golf R aims at a bit of a classier, maybe a bit more of a mature audience. It isn't as in your face. However, don't underestimate the performance and the capability of this hot hatch. All right, now let's talk power and performance. So this Mark 8 Volkswagen Golf R is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It puts out 315 horsepower, 285 feet-pound of torque, and that can go through an automatic or a manual transmission. In the automatic with the DSG, it'll do 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds. With the manual, about 4.6 seconds. And it'll run a quarter mile in just under 12 seconds. Now that's because no matter whether you go automatic or manual, it puts the power down to all 4 wheels. This has got the 4Motion from Volkswagen, which is incredibly nimble and powerful on the road. Now that's not all, because in the Golf R, this also has a drift mode setup, which means it has the fancy all-wheel drive system from the RS3 Audi, which will allow you to put 100% of your power to the outside wheels, which makes it a lot of fun when you are driving. Now, this Volkswagen that I'm reviewing today is a Mark 8, but on the market now is an 8.5, a slightly updated version with different headlights, no manual transmission anymore, a bigger screen on the inside, but most importantly, an extra 15 horsepower. If you are looking for the hottest hatch on the market, the Volkswagen Golf R answers the call. All right, now let's talk exterior styling. And when I say the Volkswagen Golf R approaches the hot hatch a little different than its competition, this is probably one of the biggest areas, is the way that it looks. This has got to be the tamest looking hot hatch, the quietest hot hatch out of any of the hot hatches that I'm going to talk about. Now, the Volkswagen Golf R only comes in 3 colors. It comes in white, blue, and black. And when you get it in the black color, you can't see any of the differentiation in the front bumper design from really just about a regular old Golf. You see, there are 2 extensions on the fenders that come up kind of like tusks, which you can only notice on the white and the blue versions. On the black version, everything all kind of blends into one full muddled front bumper. So again, there's not some aggressive styling that really allows this Golf R to stand apart from every other vehicle out there. Now, some things you will notice is the headlights do have this really unique blue accent trim inside, but gone are the double hockey stick daytime running lights that I really loved about the Volkswagen models, and now we just get one small little, again, elephant tusk style daytime running light, which kind of matches the body trim down below. Now, connecting the 2 headlights, you also get a light bar, which I think is a big zonk, because even a Ford Escape now has a light bar that runs across the front, and I don't think it makes this vehicle look any better, okay? The Volkswagen logo in the middle is what encases your forward collision warning and your adaptive cruise control sensor, so that's always going to stay there where it is. But again, as you can see, the design from the front is very reserved, very subtle, and maybe that's what you want in your hot hatchback. You don't want everybody knowing that you're driving a 300 horsepower 4-second beast. Maybe you do want to creep up on people on the light and then absolutely surprise them as you go past them, okay? Now, when we look at the wheels, we have these enormous 19-inch silver wheels. I really like the silver accent with the black body. I think if I had a blue or a white one, I'd want the black wheels, but on the black one, I certainly want the silver wheels. We have some high performance brakes in the front, but just regular brakes in the rear, and they're accented again by these ginormous blue calipers over drilled rotors in the front. On the side fender, we've got a small R badge as well. Again, the R badging all over this vehicle is very subtle. And then they went with satin silver mirror caps, which make me think of the Audi high performance vehicles. That satin finish is something that Audi always uses on their S models. Now, this Volkswagen Golf still has some very strong German design language. It still has very strong shoulder lines that run all the way from the front fender all the way to the back taillight. This rear quarter panel is iconic Volkswagen Golf. Every Volkswagen Golf model for the last 50 years has its exact same shape on the rear quarter panel. When you come all the way around to the back, now you can tell why this Volkswagen Golf just gapped you and is running away from you, and that's because the Golf R has these massive quad exhaust tips. These quad exhaust tips stick out of this beautiful rear diffuser, and not to mention, we also have a great big wing on top. So even though you couldn't tell it was a Golf R from the front, once this thing passes you, you know that this thing is packing a powerful punch. All right, now let's talk about the interior of your Volkswagen Golf R. Now, I really believe that the designers at Volkswagen did a really great job designing how this interior was going to look. But once it gets into the placement of buttons or lack of buttons, and it gets into the materials and the fabrics and the textures that they used in the interior, I really think that this interior falls short. Now, mind you, this is a Volkswagen, it's not an Audi, it's not a Porsche, it's not a luxury, it's not a premium vehicle. So I'm sure this interior is still light years ahead of just a regular Volkswagen Golf. But if I'm paying $50,000 for a vehicle, I kind of expect a slightly better interior than this, okay? Starting at the door sills, we do have a rubberized top pad to rest your arm, but other than that, the entire door is all hard, cheap feeling plastics. Even the carbon fiber element that looks really nice, I'm convinced is just a print. I don't believe this is real carbon fiber. I'm not fooled for even a second. And then when we get into the digital screens and the dash, although we've got two great large digital displays, they're flanked and encased by a whole bunch of really cheap looking piano black. That piano black also extends onto the center console. And again, I don't have that exotic luxury premium feel in this vehicle. The only place that feels really, really nice in this vehicle is the steering wheel, where we've got this beautiful perforated leather, this gorgeous accent blue stitching, very thick bolsters, paddles that are too big but not too big, and again, just the lightest blue trim sprinkled throughout the vehicle. We've got it on the stitching, on the steering wheel, in the R logo. We've got it on the stitching on the seats, the backs of the seats, the rear seat headrest. I mean, when you look at this interior, and if I was looking in a magazine, I would give this interior a 10 out of 10. But sitting in it, I have a drastic different opinion of it. Now, these seats, for as aggressive as they look, they still feel rather loose. These are some of the wider bucket seats that I've ever sat in. I mean, I'm not a very big guy, but I struggle to actually touch the bolsters on both sides. Now, again, the leather on the main seat pad looks very, very nice, but next to it, they've used a carbon fiber print fabric, which again really cheapifies the look of these seats. The blue piping is great, the blue stitching is great, the blue R logo on the seat back is great, the shape, the design of the seats look really great, but again, sitting in them, they don't feel as supportive as I really wish that they would. Now, regardless of the shape and the quality of the driver's seat, I still do have power functions. My up and down, my lean, my lumbar support, those are all very nice. And a very interesting feature is I actually still get a memory seat. So not only is my driver's seat power, heated, ventilated, and has memory settings, but as soon as we go over to the passenger seat, it goes all the way down to a manual seat. How can you put so much effort into the driver's seat and no effort into the passenger seat? Will always have me scratching my head. All right, so now that I'm sitting behind the wheel of this Volkswagen Golf R, the wheel is really nice. Again, we've got thick bolstering, perforated leather, accent blue stitching, accent blue bottom spoke. Those elements are done very, very nice. And again, we've got some really nice paddle shifters on here. What I don't like, and most people complain about, are on the two side panels, we actually have touch pads where instead of volume buttons, these are actually volume sliders, where you have to wave your hand over on them, as well as your buttons for your cruise control are also just touchpads. Now, the downside about these being touchpads is it makes it very easy for you to accidentally hit any of these buttons as you're driving around. The furthest one to the outside is your drive mode button, and the last thing you want to accidentally hit while you're in one drive mode is the ability to change into another drive mode. On the other side, it's the same thing. We have a slider to adjust your tracks, okay? We have, again, touch buttons to change your menu screen and your views, and the most exterior button is the heated steering wheel button. So just holding the steering wheel, you're turning your heated steering wheel on and off multiple times just throughout regular driving. Now, I haven't played around with this vehicle enough to know if you can just turn those off and have them not work whatsoever. But again, this is a design flaw that I'm really not a fan of, and most people don't seem to be very happy with in this vehicle either. In fact, on the GTI model, people complained about this so much that Volkswagen actually replaced these touchpads with actual physical buttons. So you literally need to push them in and out to have them have any functions. And then we also have a view button, which allows you to toggle through 5 different views, all of which I find are really nice. The first and main view has a large tachometer in the middle. I can change that to have a large speedometer in the middle, and then I have 2 screens flanking both sides, which I can customize what they display. The next screen is a little bit more simpler, okay? It takes out the large style tachometer and replaces it up at the top, and then takes the 2 screens on the outside and makes them a little bit larger. The next one actually goes to a classic style with a tachometer on the left and a speedometer on the right, and fills the entire area in the middle with my navigation. Number 4 simplifies the view, again allowing me to control the 2 screens on the left and the right with a larger navigation in the middle. And then my last one keeps those screens on the sides, but it replaces the middle with my safety screen. So again, would show me where I am between the road lines and would also show me vehicles in front of me. All these views I think are fantastic, and the ability to customize what you want to see in your instrument panel is extremely easy. Now, another really strange thing about the interior of this vehicle is how they've grouped all the buttons. It's almost like they took all the buttons, shook them in a bag, and then threw them in all kinds of different areas of the vehicle. On the driver's side, left side of the infotainment screen, I have my light controls, which makes sense, but I also have my defrost, front glass, rear glass, and side mirrors. It's really strange not to see those with the climate buttons. On that note, climate buttons, there are none, okay? Volkswagen has hidden most of the climate controls right in the infotainment screen. Another thing that's really frustrating if you haven't learned to master it. All right, now when it comes to infotainment screens, I don't know why companies always try to over-engineer these. All I really want to find is my music, my maps, and my entertainment, and I wish companies just focused more on that rather than trying to be a better version of CarPlay or reinventing the wheel. This screen has got too many menus, options, features, looks, and ways of functioning it. You've got a gesture mode where I don't even need to touch the screen and it'll change. Also very annoying if you're like me and you talk with your hands a lot, because the screen will just naturally change on its own. As I mentioned before, there are no climate buttons here. You actually have to go into a climate screen just to find the controls for all your climates. There's also no volume knob here. The only way to adjust the volume in your vehicle is using the slide pad located at the bottom of the screen, or again, the slide pad that's located on the steering wheel. To adjust the temperature in your vehicle, again, you've got slide pads to get hotter, slide pads to get colder on both sides, but again, no real paddles, dials, or buttons to be able to control any of this stuff. Once we get into the main infotainment page, again, it's a little too complicated where to find things that you want to control. If I wanted to turn the exhaust on or off, I have to search through a plethora of different pages just to figure out where I'm going to find any of these adjustments. We also have Some neat things in here like the ability to change all the lighting in the vehicle, which I love when vehicles have that as well too. But most important thing I wanted to show you in here is your different drive modes. We've got a comfort mode, which makes this high performance hatch unbelievably comfortable on the road, makes you almost forget that you're in a 300 horsepower vehicle. We've got our sport mode, which tightens up the suspension and changes the exhaust noise, changes the throttle response and the tightness of the steering wheel. We have also got our race mode, which actually pulls up a few different modes that we have. We've got the drift mode, which allows you to put 100% of the torque to the outside wheels, which allow you to really play around with the vehicle. And then we also have a special Nürburgring mode, which again puts it in its most radical form. And then lastly, we have a custom mode, which allows you to go into great detail on how you want to have the steering, the drivetrain, the engine sound, the acceleration, and your shift light assist. Now, one really unique thing is you actually have 15 different suspension positions. So again, no matter how tight or loose you want your suspension, you'll surely find a suspension that's suited right for you. As we move down the center console at the front, you'll see there's a wireless charging pad. This is a flat style wireless charging pad that I really don't like because as you're driving, your phone slides left to right and comes on or off the charging pad. So again, not a very great design there. And then when we get down to the center area, this is where you find your start stop button, your park button, your gear selector, and your parking brake. Again, not very exciting in a vehicle like this. I wish the start stop button was red, or it was larger, or it was circular, or it was just somewhere rather than just a boring old square. And again, this gear selector, just being this tiny little light switch style switch, is again not a very exciting button to have in your vehicle either. Now again, there is no handbrake, it's an electronic parking brake, but that won't matter because if you really just want to drift this thing around, this vehicle's got a drift mode which will allow you to do that anyways. All right, and the last two things in the center console, we do have one singular cup holder up here that's actually got a nice clamp design, which will pinch down on even the smallest of cups or juice boxes. And then the armrest is extendable and has the nice Volkswagen thing where it'll ratchet into a different position. So it makes it very, very comfortable to sit that armrest up exactly how you want it. All right, now, if you're buying a four-door sports car, it's probably because you plan on using the back seat. Now, I've got the front seat positioned where I would sit, and I'm not a very tall guy. I'm not even 5'8". And even with that seat where I would like to sit, I barely have any legroom. Now, however Volkswagen engineered this, I've got tons and tons of headroom, but I barely have any legroom. Now, if I thought the front doors were cheap with the rubber on the top and everything else being plastic, well, the back doors are even worse because you don't even get the rubber topper on the door. The entire back door looks like it was borrowed right out of the base level rental spec Volkswagen Golf, so it's not very exciting back here at all. Now, there is some really unique functional things back here that I do like. On the back of the seat, there's two separate pockets on the top as well as another pocket down below. So rear seat occupants do have quite a few places to tuck in things so they don't fall out of their pocket or they're not sitting on them. As well as back here, I've got heated rear seats, and I even have my own climate control back here. Something I've never seen a third climate control zone in a vehicle of this size. And then in the middle, we still have a reasonable size armrest with a cup holder. And as I mentioned, we've got the pass-through door. So again, you can run some skis, a snowboard, or you can just reach the cooler that's sitting in the back in the trunk. And now let's talk rear cargo room in the Volkswagen Golf. Now, the Volkswagen Golf does have one of the most unique rear hatch handles I've ever seen. It's actually the Volkswagen logo. You simply push on the logo, that turns into a handle, and then you can lift up the rear hatch. What you don't get is actually a power rear hatch. You'd expect that after spending $50,000 on a vehicle, you might get some nice creature comforts like a power hatch, but I understand they probably kept it off all in the name of weight savings. Now, another really unique thing about the back here is you don't see a backup camera on the rear bumper or on the rear hatch. And that's because when you put the vehicle in reverse, the Volkswagen logo pops open, a camera pops out, and it keeps that camera nestled away so it doesn't get dirty. Really, really smart engineering by the German engineers up at Volkswagen. And then when we talk rear hatch space, again, nothing too exciting, nothing that I need to really go over. It does the regular European thing where it has a pass-through door in the middle where you can run your skis or a snowboard, which are really, really nice. Underneath the rear floor, you actually have a spare tire inflator kit. If you do want to put a spare tire in here, there is enough room to put one in, but as standard, it just comes with an inflator kit. All right, so to recap my review on the Volkswagen Golf R, I really want to love this vehicle because on paper, the performance is insane. 315 horsepower from a turbo 4, 0 to 60 in only 4 seconds, a drift mode. I mean, on paper, this is such an impressive vehicle and the performance is there all the way. However, I just wish it looked more exciting. I really wish the interior felt a lot nicer. But again, when you look at the competitors in their class, their interiors really aren't much more exciting either. So again, if performance is your game and you love German engineering and you don't want to buy the Audi or the Porsche, this Volkswagen Golf R does it all, and it does it better than all the other hot hatches.